The film opens with a mysterious man, called The Late Night Show, to tell a horrible story. In my past. This is the story that changed his life forever. Opening, Ben and his pregnant wife are incensed, come together to see a new house. The agent explained that, even though this house has a very large area, they can buy it at an incredibly cheap price. Huang went upstairs to look around. Something in the house across the street suddenly, to get your attention. Right then, incensed, I noticed something unusual on the floor. It's these deep scratches on the floor. But when you look closer, she also saw a piece of a broken nail caught between the cracks. But the broker suddenly explained the owner of the house used to have a dog. It could be caused by an animal. The couple finally decided to buy this house. The seller added that residents in the area we value privacy. So, every house is surrounded by high walls. The neighbors almost did not into each other's lives. Common space. The only thing that's missing is the trash area near the entrance. Before leaving, the agent also reminded them not to make noise or create any kind of disturbance. While talking, tomorrow always has a woman looking at me from the window, but if you look closely, it's not very human. A few days later, the couple invited a monk to clean the house before officially moving in. But when the monk came upstairs, the whole house fell into a strange silence. After a while, he came down with a severe cough, then quietly left without saying a word. See that bin? I advise you to wait a while. Then let's move in, because the house is still under renovation. I'm worried about dust in the house. It's not good for the baby in your belly. The next day, one of the installers asked Bin, "Have you caused trouble with your neighbors?" Bin replied, "Yes." The workmen said that when they stood outside smoking while waiting for work, an old lady on the other side of the road looked at them with a look on her face, then shouted out loud, asked them to stay away from the house. Bin thought maybe she was angry because they smoked. After the workers left, Bin saw a security guard sitting alone near the road. It seems to be eating something. Feel sorry for him. Bin, bring some food and tell him to sit comfortably, to eat for decent. But when Bin gets close, I suddenly realized there was no one in front of me, but there's some offerings there. And I also saw the neighbor. I'm looking at you with a great look on my face. I was calling my wife that night. Bin mentioned the strange old lady and say that she looks like a completely unusual person. Curious to tell you to show me. Switch to the back camera. Now the picture shows up. The old woman is doing a dance, monstrous ritual. Somehow Huang that they shouldn't keep peeking at an old person. It's so scary. But right then, the old woman suddenly pointed straight at Bin. Make you panic back. But when Bin turns the camera back, a dark shadow appeared behind your back, standing silently in the dark. But neither husband or wife noticed that. A few days later, they both eventually moved into a new house. I want to surprise my wife. Bin, take her to see the room for the baby to be born that you've prepared. That emotional moment made Bin open up about your past. You said that since you were born, I've never really had a roof. Feel, Bin, you finally have your true home. The next morning, I went out to throw away the trash. Then suddenly there's another hand holding her hand. When you look up, you see a woman standing in front of you. I was excited to tell Bin that you talked to the neighbors. She described the woman as very beautiful. She looks a little bigger than you. The neighbor, he even gave her a fruit cake. Even in the bin, I still feel uneasy because of the old lady. The monster lives in the opposite house. Not long after, Bin himself to the security office and asked about your security guard or your neighborhood. The guard named Zhang said he knew who he was, but he's dead, and actually died near Bin's neighborhood. Since then, people in the neighborhood start to hear bicycle bells ringing on moonlit nights. People have to pray for each other. May his soul be saved. But the ghost still refuses to disappear. Zhang went on to explain that it just gets quieter after the old woman who lived in the opposite house moved in. Her name is Mind by Protection. Maybe she's a shaman. You heard that, Bin? He immediately said that he still saw the old woman displaying offerings. Zhang warned, you must not interfere with suspicion, ceremony, or devil. Otherwise, he will not be responsible, no matter what happens. And then it's both irritating and irritating. Bin angry, go home and throw Kir's offerings in the trash. In that moment, the shadow of the guard flickered out. Bin Jun rescues himself, but she suddenly came running. When I see what you've done, She screamed in terror and asked why he dared to touch the offerings. Bin did not answer but rushed away. And then she panicked. When you see a woman who is silently peeking out from behind the door. The next day he told Bin that she invited her neighbor over for dinner. While the couple is watching TV, Vi suddenly stood up, then throw the remote to the bin. Make your nose bleed. Perfume herself was shocked. Why are you bleeding so much? While the bewildered Bin asked the opposite. Why did you throw the remote in your face? She's angry that you have behaved badly to her. But Bin, maybe your wife is changing her mood. Pregnancy and leave. Then Incense stood in the kitchen slicing vegetables next to her. The water in the sink has spilled out, and you still don't realize. Bin quickly steps to lock faucet and asks what you're thinking. When cleaning the sink, I found the hairs floating. Bottle in water. It's hard to understand. Bin pulled them up, but even the trash filter in the sink was pulled out. Out of curiosity, he bent over and looked at the drain. Immediately, you are in business. I was surprised to see an eye watching, staring back at me from inside the darkness. At the right time, I feel like I'm losing control and almost harming myself. But Ben stopped her in time. Trembling in fear, I cried and said, "You don't know what's happening to you." Bin tried to save. She said that maybe she was just too tired and told her to go on vacation. That night when Ben was sleeping, long hairs slowly dropped down on you. At first I thought it was incense, but immediately cold bath. I realized my wife was sleeping next to me. Bin raised his head and was terrified. The ghost is hanging upside down from the ceiling. The ghost suddenly fell on you, but only in the blink of an eye. Next, Bin saw Huang standing right in front of him. Panicked, he pushed her out of bed. I cried in pain and asked him why he had been hurt. The next night the neighbor was invited to dinner. Opened the door, but there is no eye outside. However, when I went back she was stunned. I found the woman sitting at the table with me. Bin suddenly. The neighbor began to eat in a hurry. It's like being hungry for a long time. Just a few minutes later, she spat blood. It's scary to see. Her teeth gradually cracked and fell out. Soon Bin was also controlled by an invisible force. Panicked to see the spooky woman twisting her head slowly move towards you. In that horrible nightmare, seeing yourself in trouble. It's scary about the baby in the womb. She fell to the floor in a panic, while the ghost crawls near, create an obsessive scene. In that moment I woke up. But in reality, Bin is currently in a state of being possessed and strangling her. Huang struggled to escape and kicked Bin Ra away. When Bin tried to get closer to comfort, Incense holding a pair of scissors, he pointed at me and warned me not to come near. After calming down, they say this house is haunted. Bin realized that now. You said your mother called earlier and say that the priest used to perform a purification ceremony for the house that died. He also told the guard what they see is not human, and outside the house, strange objects like a buried spell. They both rushed to check the cake, and it's scary to see that it's full of stuff. It's scary. The shivering incense that the neighbor she'd met. Maybe it's not human. Call Mr. Jiang immediately and ask whether there's AI living in the house next door or not. Mr. Jiang said that house has been abandoned for years. There is no AI. When Bin continues to ask, does he know anything about the house? Mr. Jiang revealed that a young woman had committed suicide before. That's until people find out. Her body has slowly decomposed. You hear that chaos? They say they can't go on. Stay in this house more. But Ben refused to leave. You think the dead are not at home. But Huang still left. Bin in agitation grabbed her hair and pulled her back. Make Incense angry slap you. I told you to wake up. After the incense left, Bin surprised. I saw two people standing silently inside the house. The sight alone scared me to the core. But before I could react, right above your head is a scary image. The woman who died in the house next door. Too scared, Bin Lao straight out of the house and immediately drove out of the house with his wife. A year has passed. Ben decided to go back to the old house. Before moving back, you hired a shaman to perform an exorcism. At the same time, install surveillance cameras around the area. She has now given birth to a baby named Ni. And the couple hired a maid named Sen to take care of the baby. One day, Sen, I saw the woman in the apartment. The house next door is staring at her through the window. Then, I can see you are having fun playing with the kids. Soon the lotus's voice became strange. When Huang comes back, you can see in front of you that there is no longer a shadow. It's the ghost of a woman she met years ago. but only in the next moment. They came back as if nothing had happened. The next day, Sen, there are strange words and lack of sacrifice about Huang's appearance. She tried to explain that her body had changed because I just gave birth. But Sen, I keep asking personal questions about sex with my husband. Huang felt upset and angry to leave. That night when Ben came back, Lotus began to behave unnaturally and tried to approach him for a brief moment. The bin is almost out of control. Fortunately, call me at the right time to wake me up. That night they both heard a scream echoing outside the house. They rushed out to see what happened. I found the Lotus lying unconscious on the grass. Behind, two couples quickly call one a magician. They know the bee to help after checking the condition of Lotus. Bees say the manifestations of Lotus similar to the case of female ghosts. Insist on you at the right time. Lotus suddenly woke up, but your state is extremely abnormal. She rudely pushes the bee aside and rushes straight to the incense. They quickly stop you. While that intense contraction, a scary accident happened causing Lotus serious injury. She fell down, but instead of falling down, they continue to act out of control. In the madness, he immediately recited the mantra, powerful spells, to fight the forces that are occupying the Lotus. Lotus' body trembled violently. She screamed in pain. After a stressful time, the ghost was finally forced out of her body. After that, take your baby home to hide. Next week, Bin went to his mother-in-law's house to celebrate his baby's birthday. That night, Huang told Bin that he should sell the Kier house. But the bin is still there. When Bin returned home, he found a strange box. I found out it's a family photo. When you look closer, Bin recognized in the background of there is the shadow of a woman. At that moment, the door to Bin's room slowly opened. I sit still in fear when the ghost comes to me. Can't move. Bin can only watch it in horror. Meanwhile, Huang kept calling Cho Bin, but didn't get a response. Worry, she opened the surveillance and panicked when she saw Bin. They're hurting themselves, in a state of loss of control. More terrible, I saw you preparing to kill yourself. When Bin is struggling in despair, you see the ghost, the woman hanging in front of her. And then there was a chilling scene. Something happened that made me almost lose consciousness. Fortunately, the guardian ghost appeared and saved Bin's life. But after that day, I had to go to a psychiatric hospital. I am now trying to find the old owner of the house. That person's name was Nam, so she took Nam to see Bin. Nam revealed that I've lived in that house before, with a sister named Nam, brother-in-law named Nam, men and their little daughter Alice. My husband and I spent a lot of time for spiritual work. In the early days, she takes very good care of Alice. She quickly became close to you. But one day Alice suddenly disappeared. Then Nam found her inside the neighbor's house. Alice said that a woman had invited her to dinner. Ben asked if Nam knew anything about the house. Nam said that at the time, I don't know anything at all. He said he only saw one woman wearing a red dress in that house. When you tried to get Alice home, she suddenly vomited the ground and had to be rushed to the hospital. Also that night, after returning from the hospital, Nam started drinking a lot, then suddenly collapsed in tears. Then Nam heard strange sounds emitted from Nam's room. When I walked in, I was horrified to find Nam is being hanged by a red dress ghost. Ben asked if he was the one who sold the house. This house is for you. Male suffering. Apologize and explain that even after ordination, the feeling of guilt still haunts me. I said I didn't expect. The soul continues to search for trouble, multiply and repeat the cycle of tragedy. Nam advised Bin to sell the house, but Bin refused. You said that selling to AI would hurt them. Nam took them to see her mind. At this time, Bin's wife, I knew my neighbor was a shaman. At first, she refused because the ghost was too strong. But when she heard the baby cry, she softened her heart. She said she could only help Ben talk to ghosts. She prepared a ceremony. Use a candle to open Yin Yang's eyes. He looked to the past until the candles burned out. In the past, Bin saw that Nam used to have a fuzzy relationship. He's obsessed with the woman who lives next door. Nam's wife, Nan, wants you to end the relationship. Nam told Ngok to move, because you can't continue to live right next door to them. He said you're just a passerby in your life. Pain and anger. Ngok chose that he used Tai to tie Nam up and steal him from her. I told you to stop dreaming. She laughed and said she was pregnant too. Then Bin saw that Nam was gentle with Jewel, but quietly mixed something into her drinking water. The jade knows nothing. Happily drink and ask if Nam will divorce Nan. Nam promised she'll be your wife soon. But it wasn't long before what was in the glass of water started. The pain of hugging the belly, Nan appeared and coldly blamed Num enough to force you to continue. I cry because the baby is my son, but Nan reminded me that I only have one wife and a single family. Desperate. Please stop. But tragedy still happens. In the midst of being manipulated, Num do the unforgivable. She lost her baby in the womb. Nan then chillingly kicked out Ngok from the house. To see the tragic end of your child, the jade screams in pain. That very night, she hanged herself on the second floor of the house. Wife Num know it, but they left your body unreported to the authorities. The movie moves to night, turned into a ghost and returned for revenge. After making Num pay, she dragged Nan into tragedy. She could only save Nam from the wrath of the ghost. When Bin woke up, you said you saw all the crimes of burning and Nan. I asked her mind, is there any way to help you leave peacefully? Grandma mind. She said she had to go into that house for the liberation ceremony. But the outrage and the jewel's desire for revenge is too strong. You can't handle it alone. Tell them you know someone who can help them. They're bringing bees to help. Before the ceremony, she warned them that they were not sure if they could defeat the jade. It may not even survive, including Alice and baby. But the bees decided to stay. The group enters the haunted house. She told everyone to hold hands tight, absolutely no matter what happens. I asked everyone to close their eyes until she gave me permission. They walked into the room where Jewel ended her life. But the ghost pretending to be her voice tricked them into opening their eyes. It pulls Nam away. Luckily Bin kept it, and she sings holy water to repel the soul. She summoned the ghost. The guard asked him to come into the front room, put the magic on the floor and start chanting. As soon as the ceremony begins, the French I guess suddenly ignited. The ghost of the protector was also strangled. She realized that the ritual had failed 7 times. She said this is a demon bound by karma, and asked who's hiding the truth. But only then, the guardian's ghost was smashed to ashes. She was also brutally killed by the jade. While the jade claims that all the eyes in this house have to die, the devil enters the south, threw the bee aside and held the knife to Bin. Bin just dodged. The bee stood in front of me and recited the mantra. To force the soul out of the south. The jade is too strong. She threw the bee against the wall and attacked her. The jewel of desperation. Bin holds a magic weapon straight into the soul of the jewel. Jade screamed angrily and Bin hurried out of the room. I rushed out the front door, but an invisible force pulls you back. Jade's body shattered in the terrifying scene. Then everything happened suddenly. Moved to another dimension. Ben came home as usual. Not long after the baby arrived, the boy happily ran upstairs to find his father. But follow me. I was horrified that Bin lost and is harming her daughter. The frightened child ran into a room and locked the door. Bin ordered Huang to leave the house. I locked myself in my room to protect myself. But in the flashback, the rest of the jade slowly fused back together. When the door opens, before their eyes was a horribly distorted Jewel and Bin as if merged and turned into a monstrous entity. Now the truth is finally revealed. Before I entered the bin, I used to love Jade deeply. But Bin, I promise I'll buy that house someday for both of you. They swore they would always be together. But then everything fell apart. When Bin was about to propose, I found out that the rain was falling. His superiors. Then I knew because of that relationship. Ngok was promoted. Jade was swallowed by anger and hurt. Bin sent video of Jewel and the Kier man. For everyone in the company. You are humiliated in front of everyone. Back to the present. Bin in occupied state, frantically breaking down the door to enter the room. She stabbed him in the arm to defend herself, then run out. But Bin caught her leg. I kicked him in the face and ran into the room. Finally, Bin managed to break the door. My son and I are like an animal out of control. Desperate notes that they are your wife and children. During the struggle, Bin opened the balcony door and pushed the incense out. He kept holding her up as if to throw her down. But the incense pulled me back. Suddenly Bin hugged incense and baby in tears. Please hold me tight instead of me. Right after that, Bin pushes both incense and baby out of the balcony, but actually to get them out of space due to the jade created the ghost of the jade Lao Theo to try to hold them back. But Bin hugged her tight and apologized for all I've ever done. When I heard my baby cry for me, Bin looked at his wife and children and shouted sorry. Say they're your real family, and I'll always be with them. I know the only way to save my family is to stay behind. To accept self-sacrifice, alone to face the evil of the jade, let others live. The film finally reveals the mysterious man. Call to the program, Ghost Radio, to tell this terrifying story is the Bin is still in trouble. Live forever in the memory of the jade.